clip your wings, lock you up and make you sing, but they'll never cage your dreams. So fly away, 'cause we've got tomorrow. We're the pages in the wind. We've got tomorrow. We're the tale that lies within. There's always another day, another night, a bittersweet blessing in disguise. Tomorrow, we're the authors of our lives. Tomorrow, tomorrow, eyes open wide, daydream at night. My thoughts collide. Someday they'll see behind their screens me shining bright. They're gonna try to clip your wings, lock you up and make you sing, but they'll never cage your dreams. So fly away, 'cause we've got tomorrow. We're the pages in the wind. We've got tomorrow. We're that tale that lies within. There's always another day, another night, a bittersweet blessing in disguise. Tomorrow, we're the authors of our lives. Tomorrow. Sometimes you are the spider, sometimes you are the flying towards the sky. Soaring in love, 'cause we've got tomorrow. We're the pages in the wind. We've got tomorrow. We're that tale that lies within. There's always another night, a bittersweet in disguise. Tomorrow, the yours of our lives.
Hello everyone and welcome to another rendition of Zenfolio Live. My name is Kayla and I hope everyone is doing super well today. Let us know where you're from in the chat, and if you've got any exciting photography stuff going on in your life, we'd love to hear about those things. So just let us hear from you. You're also more than welcome to throw out any questions you have. It could be related to pretty much anything in Zenfolio. Today we will be talking about doing tables and custom pages, but it does not have to be related to that at all. So feel free to throw out your questions. Let us know a little bit about yourself in the chat if you have some time. So before we get started though, I did want to mention that there is a 40% off sale going on with MPix and MPix Pro, and it is ending today. So if you want to do like a one-day sale with your customers, now would be a really good time to just throw that out, let people know it's going on. So I'd be sure to get this promoted to your clients ASAP if you haven't already. So I guess let's go ahead and get started, guys. Today, again, we are going to be talking about making tables and custom pages. So these tables are kind of used for a ton of different things, really, but it's a great way to get all the information to line up really well on your page. So sometimes it can be difficult to get like two images side by side and centered, and it's just a lot easier to do it with a table. So to begin, we'll want to go to website and then customize website. So I'm going to head over there now. Or I'm sorry, custom pages, not customize website. I can't even tell you how many times a day I say that. And we will create a brand new page here. So on this new page, you will want to go ahead and enter a title. And for this example, what I'm going to do is create a page that I guess is going to detail my packages, and I guess like go into the details about like what each package includes, the prices, things like that. So I might call this page package pricing portraits. So we'll just pretend this is for my portraits page here. Now, again, the best time to use this is when you want to align a lot of text and information on a page. So if you're just planning on posting like one image to this page and a bit of text, you may not need it. But for several smaller images with text, you might. So what I'm going to do here is have a couple different categories for my prints. So let's just say I have a $150 package, a $250 package, and a $500 package. So I'm just going to detail out all this information on this custom page. So what I'm going to do is click this little table button here. If you hover over it, it will say table, so you know you're in the right place. And then it's going to ask you how many rows and columns you want, what you want the width to be, things like that. So for this example, what I'm imagining is that I'd have 3 columns, one for each package, and then 3 rows as well. And on the top row, I'll just put the package name. I've got a couple images made that I think I'll use for the little header at the top. And then on the second row, I'll just put the length of time and price. And on the third row, I'll put what all is included. So I'm going to make this 3 and 3. There are some other things that we may want to do here. I'll come back to this to show you guys. But for now, I think I'm just going to plug in some information, make it look really nice. So now we've got the bones of the table here, and we just need to fill it in. So I've actually got some photos uploaded to this account already. I have put them in a gallery called Site Images. And all I've done is I've made a bronze, silver, and gold package. Should probably get my watermark off of there so you can read that, but you get the idea. You can do something similar to this or just have text. It's totally up to you what you want to do. The important thing though, if you're going to use an image in your table, is this image size here. If you do auto fit to width, it's going to assume that you want it to be pretty large and show up very large on your page. But we want this a little bit smaller. So I might just go with a large thumbnail here, and it'll be 200 pixels wide. And that should be just enough where it can be read, but it's not really going to take up the whole page. So, and I am going to leave that to fixed alignment centered as well. So I will insert that, and now this is here. Next I can tab over to get into here, or just click in this box. I'll do the same exact thing for silver. Change that to the large thumbnail. And then we'll do it for the gold package as well. And put that to the large thumbnail too. Alright, so now we've got our images loaded here. Now we just go down to the next line, just go through and enter all the information. Again, following this example, I think I'd like to put a length of time and a price on this line. So I might say that this one is the $150 package. And we could say it's 45 minutes of shooting time. We can tab over and say this one's the $250 package. And this one is 1.5 hours. And then the gold package can be 500. And we can say this one is 3 hours. Now you might want to center up this text, make it look a little bit nicer. You can do things like that while you're building the table. So I'll just highlight this and click center, and everything will go kind of all in line here. And again, this is a really easy method when you know, you're trying to get several things on one line. It just keeps everything nice together and organized. If you ever need to give something else a little bit more room, you can drag this line over a little bit and give some more room to other elements if need be. So you can really customize this exactly to how you need it. So here I might start like a little bulleted list and say includes 1, includes 2. I might even like copy this and put it on the same thing and just add the extra things that it includes. So includes 3 and includes 4. And so now I've got kind of a pretty basic table here. From here I can add things outside of the table, like a slideshow or a video. I think it's really cool to put a video on this page, just to, if you have a video like demonstrating some of the stuff that you do, you behind the scenes, I think that's something perfect to put here. or maybe just a slideshow of some of the images, some of your portfolio work, you can put that above or below it. So I might come down here and do a slideshow. And since this is my portrait packages, I might do a slideshow of my portrait work. And I can change things like the amount of time it's going to show, the transition. I can make sure it starts automatically. There's all sorts of little controls here that you can play with. But the most important one is going to be the layout for the size. I'm going to set this to specific dimensions that are the exact same width as my table, which I made 800. And I think with my images, the way they're cropped, I can probably make the height just a little bit taller. We'll go with like 575. And again, you can do whatever you need to do here. I'm just kind of coming up with something on the fly, but you can add this in, and then you can select it and center it as well. And you'll see it lines up perfectly with the edges of the table. Really, really nice. And now I might just add a title to the page, just something saying that these are my portrait packages. And I can make that like a really nice big header. I can make it even bigger than that, I think. Yeah, you can make it pretty big. And then you can change up fonts, you know, whatever you need to do. Does not matter. It's a completely customizable page that you can kind of take off with. So once you have everything here, the first thing you're going to want to do is click Save and Preview. And when you get here, you're just going to want to make sure that the slideshow is doing everything you want, your images are loading correctly, you've got everything spaced the way you want it to be. So like here, you'll see that like these are a little bit farther over to the left. Maybe I would go back and center them. I can also go back and add a border to this table, just so everything stays in alignment a little bit better. But this is the basic gist of it. You can come in and kind of custom tailor it as you need to. Now, some formatting tips. One thing I like to do is right click on my table once it's all complete and go to Table Properties. And when this comes up, you can remove the border by setting it to 0 like I did. You can also make like a really nice thick border on there if you want to. This is just going to be like the pixel size. So I might say something like 3 just for an example. And I can also center it up like I did here, and I can change the width a little bit. So I can make it wider if I need to, smaller if I need to, whatever is needed. And once I've got that set up, I'll just click OK. Now you see I have that nice border there, which will look really good. And it'll actually follow the border in your theme from your theme designer area as well. So even though it's showing gray here, if you have like blue borders on your images, it should show up on this table that way too if you've got it inputted correctly. So just one little thing there with the border. Now again, you can drag these little bars around too if need be. Personally, for me, I like to just make sure the table is set to the proper width from the beginning and not really mess with them so that I know they're correct. But if for some reason you do need to kind of like play around with them, you can do that. And then another cool thing you can do is right click in an individual cell. So I might say this one, for example. And then I can go to Cell and Cell Properties. And now I can change different things for just this cell in particular. So just for example, the horizontal alignment is currently set to center, but there's no vertical alignment set. You probably won't notice it since this cell is just so tiny, but I could set it so that it goes directly in the center of the cell. I could make it top heavy or bottom heavy. You can kind of play around with that. So to give you a better example, let me do it on this one here. I can go to Cell Properties and set that for the bottom. And now you'll see those are more toward the bottom. And I could do that for all of these cells if I wanted to. You can't do it per row, so it definitely would need to be done per cell, but you can set these pretty much however you need to. And that is honestly pretty much it. I mean, there is a ton of stuff that you can do here. I mean, I could literally go on all day about this, but this is definitely the basics. Just wanted to make sure that was covered. And if you have a really cool, awesome looking table on your own custom page, definitely feel free to throw it out in the chat or the comments. I'd love to see it. We can even take a look at it live on air. So just let us know. But that's pretty much it for that. So I will move on. It looks like we don't have much going on in chat right now. But thank you everyone for joining. So I will take an email question. Let me get back to my dashboard. Okay. So this user says, please tell me how to access and change visitor sign-in. So I'm assuming this person is actually looking at our new photo page, which was just rolled out a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to turn that on up here at the top, and it is possible to go back to the old view at any time currently. So you can always go back if it's not going to work for you, because there are a few things that are still a little bit funky with it. So I would just recommend, you know, taking a look at what is there and seeing if that functionality is going to work for you. But yeah, some of the elements are kind of like hit or miss right now because it's still kind of in a beta test mode. But the visitor sign-in area is something that will show here. Let me move the chat out of the way so we can see that full window. So if I wanted to do this on my site images, for example, I would just need to go to Access at the top of the page. And it's actually going to be on this new Privacy tab. And if I scroll down into the visitor sign-in area, it's going to say same as containing group. And you can uncheck that box, well, this box, then that box, and scroll down to actually display it and do all the messaging, the sign-in fields, everything you need to do there. So that is where you're going to control that, and you can just save it, and then you can actually preview it pretty quickly too, which is really nice. So now I can see that sign-in area here, test it out, make sure it's to my liking, and go with it. So yes, the place to do that is going to be under Access and then Privacy going forward. If you're in the old view, there should be a little pane on the right, and it should be under Gallery Access there. Or I'm sorry, not under Gallery Access. It has its own tab. It says Visitor Sign-in underneath of Gallery Access. So everything is still there. Most of the functionality is still the same, and you should be able to find it just fine. So let's see. This user says, I need to add a privacy notice to my website. I think this would be best in the footer menu. I'm trying to find information on how to do this, but I'm not having much luck. So we have already got some information covering this in the footer. It kind of goes over all the new GDPR stuff that's going on in the UK. Even if you're in the US, it's something that you definitely want to look at just in case, you know, someone has a grandparent in the UK and they come to order photos from you. So I don't necessarily think you have to do this, but if you do want to add some personal message down there, you can create a custom page and link it to your footer. Or I believe it's possible to create some custom content for your footer too. So let's take a look at that real quick. If I go to Website and Customize Website, we can bring up the area where we can edit the footer. Let's kind of think about it a little bit. There we go. Okay. So now on the left side of the screen, there is a site footer area down here in the bottom left. And when I click that, I can actually turn custom content on. And I can embed things in this area, view the source code, and just paste something directly into the source code. You can do pretty much whatever you need to here. Just do keep in mind that if you are adding a code for this, Zenfolio can't help with the actual coding, but we can help you get it into the right area. So that's just something important to note. But with this, with a personal message about the new GDPR changes, you might even just like add a link to a custom page that you've created with a message. So you could do the link right here, just point it to wherever you need to and just call it whatever you need to as well. And then it would show up in your footer at the very bottom of the page, which I don't really have on right now. So once you have that on, it should be just fine. The place to turn that on, in case you're wondering, is in the options at the top of the page, and it's going to be on the Page Elements tab. So it should just show up down here and kind of go along with the rest of your site. So let's see here. Still no chat. You guys, let me know if you have any questions. Seriously, it can be about anything under the sun, so I'm happy to help. So We have another email question. This person says, I placed an order for myself, and when I looked at them to be sure the cropping was okay, they had the watermark on them. Originally, I thought if I uploaded my images without a watermark and then went into Zenfolio to add the watermark, they wouldn't print on the images when ordered. So that is correct. When you're in the cropping area, though, it will show that watermark there, just to prevent further screenshotting of the images. We kind of like, anytime you have the Zenfolio watermark used on your site, it will be displayed somewhere on that image, no matter where it is displayed online. Like even in the cart, you're going to see it. It can be a little confusing, so we do put a message there when you actually go to change the cropping that indicates that that watermark will be removed. So, but when it is actually delivered, as long as you are using the Zenfolio watermarking tool, it will be removed and you shouldn't have any problem with it. All right. There's another question here. When I download images, the caption is missing in the metadata field. And when I open the image in Photoshop, copyright data is included in the download. How do I get the caption included when downloading? So when you actually download images from Zenfolio, you are downloading the original file. So that's just all we're storing there. And I can show you this real quick. Let me go back to the dashboard. So whenever you're downloading back an image from your account, it's the original. Any changes you make in Zenfolio, like adding a caption, changing the title, those things are not going to be affected. So if I go to this image, for example, I can go to details on the right, and you'll see it's possible to add a caption here. But again, that is not going to continue over to the original image. It's just for display purposes on Zenfolio. So anything you add here will indeed be missing, unfortunately. But you can always add things to the caption fields, like in Photoshop, Lightroom, all sorts of different programs that will allow you to edit that metadata. So I would also note here that even using the bulk update metadata feature, that is still not going to adjust your original image. So just be aware of that. And for those of you who don't know, you can download the original image when you're in your Zenfolio account, just for kind of like storage purposes. You can click on the little eye in the corner, and there is a download button right here, and you can download it back to your account. So yeah, let's see. I should also say it has to be in the correct fields also. By that I just mean like when you're uploading to Zenfolio, the caption has to be there when you upload the images, and it would have to be in the correct field because some of it is a little bit different. You might be putting something in a caption field, but it might not be the Zenfolio caption field, if that makes sense. So if I can get Cheryl to throw out a link, that would be super helpful because there is a guide on this. It's our EXIF and IPTC data information guide, and it'll tell you kind of like what fields align with what and give you a better idea of what's going to be included when you download back your images, what needs to be included when you upload it, and things like that. So I'll get Cheryl to throw out that link so you guys can take a look at that a little more in depth because it does go very in depth. All right, so let's see. This user says, I want to make an order at my price and it is charging me my customer's price. So in the new photo page, you can actually buy in the back end of your account. So anytime you go into the gallery, sometimes it can be hit or miss. There is a message that will pop up if your cache is completely cleared, that will say something about, you know, do you want to purchase at visitor prices or your base lab prices? And that only shows up, of course, when you're logged into your account. But getting that message to show can be a little complicated. You have to clear your browser cache, and it's just very annoying, unfortunately. So what I would recommend doing is going to this new photo page and taking a look at it here, just buying in the back end of your account. So let's just say that I wanted to buy an image of one of my clients. So I'll come in here and open that up. And let's just say I want to buy like an 8x12 of my very first image here. I would click on that, and the very next thing I'll want to do is go to the edit view. Let's see. Well, I guess I'm in the edit view. Then go to actions, and then buy products. And when that appears, this should automatically be at your base lab prices, because this is a view that only you see. Anytime you're ordering from the public view where the customer sees it, it can get a little bit wonky. And you would just choose your lab. In this case, you know, in 8x12, I'd go to prints and select and edit. And you will note that that is the base lab cost on that. So yeah, pretty straightforward there. If you're trying to do it for multiple images, that is also possible. You would want to select one image, and if you're on a Mac like I am, you would want to hold the Command key on your keyboard and then click while continuing to hold it. And then you'll get like multiple images at a time. And then you can just go to action and buy products that way. If you're on a PC, it will be the control button though, not the command button. So just something to note there, that it is possible to order multiples at once too. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. And it looks like Cheryl sent us the link to the EXIF and IPTC data. I always it becomes gibberish if I say that too fast. But check out that link if you have any information or want to see some more information about that last question. All right, so let's see here. We've got another email question. This one says, how do I pick which print lab I want to use for my orders? So when you actually make your price list, you would add the products from the lab that you would like your clients to order from. So let's take a look at that. That is going to be over here in the website section. We'll just go to, selling section, and then go to price list. Whenever you pull up your price list, you'll just want to create a brand new one or add to an old one, either way. Once that is up, you can name it whatever you need to. And when it appears, it is going to be completely blank because I'm adding a blank price list. And with this, you can choose whichever labs you want to. The place to find the information about the labs is actually in the selling section itself. There is a section here called Products from Integrated Vendors. And this can tell you everything you need to know about the lab, whether they ship to your area, what their shipping prices are, things that might kind of make a difference to you. So I would recommend checking that out first and making your decision. But once you're in the selling section and you know which lab you want to use, you'll just want to make sure you're selling in the currency that that lab sells in. Most of the time it is going to depend on where they ship as well. Like MPICs I know will only ship to the US and Canada. They won't ship anywhere else. So I would just recommend checking out that you're selling in the currency you should be for that lab. And then you can go to add products. And you'll see that I currently have MPICs lab selected. I can click this though and change to any other lab that ships in US currency. So it can be literally any of these, or you can just switch to a different currency if need be, if you want to sell globally too. So, but you would just select that lab and then it's going to show you only products from that lab. So you can even offer some from a couple as well. So I might add like prints from MPICs, for example. So I'll just say like wallets, a couple sizes here, and add those. Then I can go back in and I can change the lab to Zenfolio US. And maybe I'll offer some of their aluminum art. So I'll check off a few of those as well. The only thing you have to be careful about there though is that you have to, I guess, keep in mind that your customer could be hit with 2 different shipping charges in this instance. Because if they're coming from 2 different areas, like they order an 8x12 from MPICs and then a big old aluminum art piece from Zenfolio US, there are 2 different labs shipping from 2 different places, so you will want to take a look at that. Maybe not offer too many labs, because I've seen people just offer literally everything and it can get a little bit overwhelming. So yeah, but that would be how you determine what lab you want to use. Alright, it looks like 24/7 Media Group is joining us today. I think his name is Mark, if I remember correctly. I only remember that because I have a coworker named Mark, and it just kind of stuck. So, Mark's at Zenfolio all around. But, Homephone said it's all gals today. Yeah, you got a girl right in front of the camera here today, and Cheryl is an awesome moderator. We really appreciate her being here too. But happy to have you guys as well. So feel free to join in and ask any questions you have. I'd be happy to answer. All right. So I will do another email question here. This one says, I have a very close relationship with another photo lab that I would like to continue using. I'm trying to figure out how to set up a price list for prints and other products that I will fulfill through my own lab. Could you assist me? So yes, absolutely. You have the option to sell self-fulfilled products through Zenfolio. And so that is going to be done in the selling section as well. This time we'll just go to the main selling section. I'm not going to save that. And when that comes up, there is a self-fulfilled product area here. And this is where you can set up products that they're not necessarily coming from you, but it could be ones that you're going to fulfill for the customer at a different location. So I have a couple examples here, like aluminum art, a template for a memory mate for Zenfolio, a couple different things, but I can add another product here, and you'll want to create these products individually. So just for example, if you're selling prints through that lab that you prefer, you can do a 4x6, a 5x7, an 8x10, but all of those will need to be listed individually. So I would just start here and say 4x6 print. If I have a product ID that I need to keep or just know to enter that order through the lab, I could put that here just for my own purposes. For the description, I can say something about the paper type, the size again, just as a reminder. If you don't mind people knowing what lab it's coming from, you can include the lab name or just say from a local lab in Raleigh, NC. You know, some people like to shop locally and don't really like to give their business to those bigger ones out there, so definitely something you could add there just to encourage a sale. And when you go down here, the important thing to note with the base lab cost is that this is just for tracking purposes. If you enter that this print is going to cost you the same amount that it cost your customer, it's going to look like you're making no profit. So just make sure that you're entering what it costs you to fulfill this order for the client. You know, for a 4x6, that might just be like 15 cents. I don't know. So you can add that there. And then put it in a category. So in this case, you might just want to add it to the prints category, but for me, I like to keep it in a separate category so that I know my products from MPix products, and I'll just keep it in other products typically. You can add some images to show what this will look like. So if you've ordered 4x6s from this lab before, you could take photos of them and upload them to this area, just so other people can see like the nice texture on the prints, the color quality. They'll know that they're getting something they can trust. You know, upload another version of that image, a larger one, so that they can enlarge it to view. Then here at the bottom, the minimum number and the maximum number of images required. For a 4x6, you know, that's probably just going to be like one quick little thing. You'll just have like one image on that. Now, if you're offering a collage, though, you may need the user to select several different products, or images rather. So you could say that you need a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 10 for a collage. So it's totally up to you what you want to put there. But I'll leave that at 1 and 1 for now for the 4x6. And I can require a couple things like minimum resolution and the cropping as well. And at the very bottom, it's going to ask you how you want to ship it. I have my shipping set up already, so I would just put this in a small package probably. But if you don't have your shipping set up already, do know that that can also be done in the self-fulfilled products area. So you can actually charge your own shipping cost as well for this, and it can just be exactly what the lab is offering. You can do like a $1 upcharge, whatever you need to do. So that is what I would recommend doing there. All right. So Mark did have a question. He says, with blogs, I know that we have a selected space width. Is there a way to keep everything square with tables in setup? So in a blog, you can get pretty darn close, but even with those like square images and vertical images, there will always be a sliver of, I guess, a border in between them. I think that's what you're asking about. But you will have more control over it with the table. So let me show you real quick. I'm going to go into the blog area. And just so for those of you who don't know, you can create a table in a blog post as well, which can be super helpful. So if I wanted to post like 2 vertical images, it does get a little sketchy with the spacing sometimes. Even in a table, if you put them like literally side by side, there will be some spacing there typically. But what I tend to do with this is do 1 row, 2 columns, no border. We'll set it to centered, and we'll do 900 pixels. So I've got my 2 here. So I will go into the photo section and choose my 2 vertical images. I'm trying to think if I have 2 verticals. Let's find out. Every one of those is horizontal. Let's try to find something else. Here we go. That one is vertical, so I'll select that one. And again, just like with the custom page table, I will change the image size down a little bit. So let's just put it at the large size. And I think that is gonna work. Actually, let's just go down one just for the sake of being safe there. So what I would recommend, since this one's gonna be on the left side, is right aligning it. That way it'll be as close over to the side as possible. And then on the other column, I'm gonna add another one. Let me see if I can find one. That one is, okay. And so we'll set this one to medium as well. But this time I will left align it. So you can get it pretty close together with the spacing there. I think that's what you're asking about, Mark, but do clarify if that's not what you're looking for. But you can continue this table a little bit. You can like add a row above and below and just do like a horizontal above that. So let's just do this one. And I can do that width set to the medium size too. And that one I will just center. Well, that doesn't like me very much, but you get the point. You can change the spacing here as much as you need to. With this, I could like make this a little bit smaller here, do whatever I need to do. So that would be my recommendation, but let me know if I can clarify any further with that, Mark, because I want to make sure your question's answered thoroughly too. All right. So I will take another email question. Let me save this just in case we do need to come back to it actually. Well, it's going to think about it anyway. Well, let's just publish it. Oh, I don't have a title. Blog. And now we'll just publish it. Anyway, so next email question. This one says, I'm creating coupons for a customer and I want to make sure that the coupons I give them can only be used once by them. How do I do this? So this is actually done in the coupon area itself. You would want to go to selling and we'll just go to main, and then down in the right side here there is a coupons and campaigns area. We'll go to new. Let me move myself out of the way here. So when this loads, the place to limit that, if you are at the pro or premium account level, is going to be at the very bottom. So that would be the maximum number of uses. You can set that to 1 use. Now, if you are trying to do this for several people, you would unfortunately have to create these individually unless you were at the advanced account level. And at the advanced account level, you can make a coupon campaign. In the coupon campaign, you can set it so that each individual gets a coupon that is custom tailored for them, and you just have a big giant list of them. It could be ordered completely randomly, just like numbers and letters. So I could make the code like 10 off or something, and then it would be like 10 off AC 2Z. So you could have a completely random list of codes that can only be used one time. But again, that coupon campaign feature is a feature of the advanced account level. and I believe premium business too, if you're on one of those older account levels. But I would check that out. Maybe even consider upgrading, because it's really and truly worth it to have that feature if you're someone who is doing bulk coupon campaigns. All right. So Mark got back to us here. He says, I believe I meant with text with space-wise, i.e. leftover space with one pick. So I'm not 100% sure what you mean, Mark. If you want to even just send me an example, I can bring it up on the show today. Maybe we can take a look at that together. But I definitely want to get your question answered, so don't give up on me. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly. All right. So let's see here. This person says, I need to request a payout of my funds. How do I do that? So this one's pretty straightforward. Once you have a couple orders come in, you will need to set up your payout area so that you can actually receive a payout first and foremost. And that's going to be done in the settings section of your account under selling. Once you're there, it'll be at the bottom. You can go to payout profile and tax info. And it's going to think about it some more. There we go. Man, my internet loves me today. Well, we're spinning. We're getting there. Let me try it in another tab. Sorry guys, it is really having a day. Let's just try it here. There we go. Okay. So this is the area you would want to set that up. I currently just have a 2-cent balance. That's what happens when you make crazy test orders in Zenfolio. But this is where you would just want to fill out all your information. If you're in the US, you can do a direct deposit to your bank account, and we just need some information to do that. And anywhere else and in the US, you can do PayPal. The cool thing though is that PayPal won't take a percentage of those funds, is my understanding, so you will just do a direct request from payout and get the full amount of funds you're requesting. But once you have this all set up and your tax applicability information, you can actually request the funds by going to billing and then account statement. And once we're in the account statement, there is a request payment button over here on the right. And I, of course, don't have all that information filled out, so it's going to kind of tell me, like, hey, what are you doing? And I would have to enter some information here first. But then at the very bottom, I can choose how much I want to request, my whole 2 pennies, and then I will just continue and walk through the steps. So it's pretty straightforward. If you have any information about, or need any information about the tax applicability, we would recommend consulting a tax professional in your area. But we can kind of help guide you in the right direction. But it is up to you to determine how you need to fill that information out. So yeah, that would be how you would find the payout area and be able to request a payout of your funds. All right. Oh yeah, Home Phone says don't spend it all in one place. I'm going to go buy my bubble gum and you can't stop me. All right, guys. So this user says, where can I add a gallery ID on the new photo page? This is a little bit hidden. We have gotten a couple questions about that. So for this, you'll want to be in the photo section, just like last time, the old photo page. With this though, it's going to work just a little bit differently. If I wanted to add it to my site images here, I would just go to Actions over on the right, and then go to Share. And I can add the gallery ID right here. One thing to note though is that currently in Zenfolio, with this beta going on with this new photo page, groups and events, and I think also collections if I'm not mistaken, cannot have this personalized code added at the moment. So it is kind of a pain, but if it's something that you really and truly need, you can switch back to the old photo view temporarily and then come right back if you like it, or just stay in the old photo view for now. Either way is totally fine. So, but we will have that functionality hopefully just in a couple weeks. We've got our fingers crossed. All right. So this user says, how do I set a password on a client gallery on the new photo page? So this is actually going to be very similar to the visitor sign-in that we looked at before. If I wanted to set a password on the site images gallery, for example, I would just go to access at the top. And it's going to be the very, very first setting here. But we have gotten a lot of questions about that because this button in the bottom left is worded differently and it's moved. But this is basically the same thing as the same as containing group. Once you uncheck that, you can edit to your heart's desire. So I would just be sure to select whatever you need, enter the password, and save. That's all you gotta do. All right. This user says, a client's gallery is completed, and when they try to download the free zip files, they are empty. So the number one reason that this happens is when sometimes an image or images are set to be allowed for download and then some are not set to be allowed within the same gallery. So it will not allow free downloads to occur at all when you have it set that way. It's just a little funky quirk, unfortunately. When you do it that way, they would need to download individually and know which ones were available to them. Maybe you just made their favorites downloadable or something like that, then they would just know to go to the favorites and do it from there. But what I would really recommend doing is just copying the image that they are allowed to download into their own gallery for them and make that gallery fully downloadable. That way the empty zip issue should not occur. But if it is, you can always reach out to us at support@zenfolio.com, and we'll be happy to take a deeper look at that if you're not seeing where that's happening. And just one quick tip too, it is possible on this page to well, not on the new photo page, but on the old photo page it was possible. You could select one image and make it downloadable, and the whole gallery itself would be set to like not allowed, and then your download button is showing all of a sudden. So what I would recommend is just kind of looking at the individual settings on your images if you are someone who was using the old photo page, just to make sure that all of those images have the same exact settings. Because if your images are set one way and the gallery is set another, they can kind of compete with each other and it gets a little funky. All right. So it looks like Mark got back with us. He said, I went to my post and it is somehow square. I took it down because it wasn't. Okay. Well, Mark, if you want to reach out to us at support, you can even put attention YouTube Live, attention Kayla, attention Cheryl, and the subject line. And we'll be absolutely happy to look at that if you want to give it another shot. Because it sounds like there is something going on there for sure. You should be able to have some text and images together aligned pretty well. But we just need to know a little bit more about what you'd want to do specifically. But we're happy to help. All right. Let's see. Oh, and guys, we have about 15 minutes left. If you want to throw out some more of your last minute questions while you're viewing, would definitely be happy to get those answered today. But this user says, I can't find where I can turn off the option for my customers to be able to download the entire gallery at one time, and I need to turn it off. So what I would do is turn downloading off in the gallery as a whole in the photo section, and then allow smaller size images to be downloaded. And so we can kind of walk through this on one of these galleries. So let's say that the Sarah Bridals gallery needs to have this done, where they can't download everything at once, but they can click through and download some individually. So what I would do is in the Access tab, I would make sure that these are set to not be allowed for download. That's going to be done on the Downloading tab, and you'll see that I have it set to Not Allowed. So this will make it so that the download button does not show on the thumbnails page, and that thumbnails page is where they can download those images all at once. So we'll do that first. Now next I'm going to go into the preview of the gallery, and then at the top I'm going to hover over Edit here and go to the page. And this will take me right into the Customize website view for this gallery. Now, because I have that download button disabled, you'll see it is not showing up when I go to select photos. But now, how do they download them individually? That's going to be done by going to Gallery Thumbnails and then going to Gallery Quickshot. This is assuming that you have a price list assigned to this gallery. I should add that, because otherwise this page will not show at all. But if you do have a price list applied, you can go to Options at the top of the page, go to the Quick Shop tab, and set Downloads to Show. And this will make it so they can only do it one at a time, and they're going to be smaller resolution images, not the original file. But even the largest one is pretty big, the extra large size. In this case, it would be 1434 by 960, but depending on your aspect ratio, I think it goes up to 1550 by 960. So you can kind of play around with that. You'll see again that I can just do this one at a time. I'd have to go to the next image and download it as well. And then you've got all the products on the right too, so it kind of encourages them to buy as well as download. The other thing too is if you want to offer a free download at the original size but really don't want them to be downloading multiple at a time, you can also just add a digital download to your price list, just one at a time. It will honestly really slow people down. I highly doubt that if they have like a huge wedding gallery that they're going to go in and order every single image that way, because that would take a lot of time. But if they just have like, 10 images you think they would want to do, you can set the price for this to be 0. And we would from there just, go in and they wouldn't have to pay anything. They would just like choose one image at a time to the cart. So it would be totally free, but the only thing there is that it's going to really, really slow them down, and this one is a little bit faster with the direct download. So I would definitely recommend the direct download method, but you can really do it either way. All right. So Mark said, "We rock, we know." Just kidding. But thanks, Mark. We'll be we'll be happy to help out in the support inbox if we can get to it just a little bit after the show. All right, so I have a couple more questions here. I think I can squeeze some in. This user says, "Can you tell us how your system complies with the new Europe General Data Protection Regulation 2018 GDPR, which comes into effect on the 25th of May?" So that is tomorrow. For those of you who are not aware of this, it is I guess it's got to do with like different laws in Europe where you kind of have to disclose how people's information is going to be used. So your customers, of course, if you have customers in the Europe and UK, I don't know, just those general areas, this will affect them and they might ask you a couple questions about this. We do have a overview on, it's like a big guide that just goes over all of the changes that Zenfolio is making and has made to be compliant with this. And the deadline is tomorrow to be fully compliant. We plan on making all the possible changes we can to be as fully compliant as possible. And you can check out that article. I'll get Cheryl to send it out. Again, though, if you don't have customers in Europe, you may want to check it out anyway, just in case, because you never know if some like random kid you're photographing is going to have a grandparent in the UK. Sometimes it affects people you wouldn't expect it to. So it's good to just be fully up to date on what's happening there. But yes, Zenfolio is making the appropriate changes, and it should be fully good to go by tomorrow. All right. So this user says, "I had a client go in and mark their favorites in their gallery, but I cannot locate them." This does kind of happen from time to time. I've seen people just say like, "I'm searching everything I can and it's not there." So let's take a look. I'm just going to go back to the photo section here and go into the favorites. And so here, there are different tabs here. If you just go to shared favorites, it's probably not going to show up. Most people do not share their favorites unless they're instructed to or have a reason to contact you about the favorites. 90% of the time, the favorites are going to be in this section. I have seen happen sometimes is that maybe the husband goes in and makes a favorite set, and so instead of Valerie Lamb, it's going to be like Joe Lamb. And I'm searching Valerie and nothing's coming up. So Even if they make a little typo, sometimes it can be hard to find. So what I recommend doing is sorting by date modified and putting yours at the very top. I don't have this one example here, unfortunately, but if you do have several, you can sort these by date so that the most recent one is at the top. And I don't recommend doing date created, because if they have created multiple favorite sets and put them all in one, it's going to take the date of the day they did that original favorite set. So modified typically works the best for me. Now, the last thing, sometimes I have seen people just kind of test this archive button to see what it does. And so then your favorites disappear and you're like, oh no. So now I can go to the archived favorites and find it here. You can always unarchive something if need be, but I've seen random stuff show up in that archive section too, so that is a good place to check as well. But yes, definitely sort by date modified if the search does not work for you in general. All right. I think we can take a couple more. This user says, I just signed up for the image protection that searches the web for my images. Is there a dashboard to see what has been done or what it is doing? So I think this person is referring to the new copyright protection service. For those of you who don't know, it's a new service that we are offering through Zenfolio. I believe currently it is only $45 for a full year. That price will be going up to, I think, $60 if I'm not mistaken. So if you're interested in finding out more about this, there is, I think, an article about the copyright protection service that kind of goes into the details. But the gist of it is that you would be able to search your images through this service, and it would find any illegal use of your image on the web. So for example, like my images of Sarah bridals, I might have an image and I might want to search it just to make sure that no one has shared that in a place that I don't want them to. I've seen some people, like their customers will share things in photo competitions. If they end up being a winner, sometimes their images end up being in magazines. And you don't want anyone taking your images and profiting off of it, or even if they're not profiting when you could be profiting off of it, it can be a really big deal. So this service is going to go through and find the illegal uses of your images. And even if it's something you're like, no, I gave that person permission, it's okay, you can just kind of like mark it off your list and really focus on the ones that are being used illegally. So the place to find this dashboard, though, once you have signed up, you would go to the settings and then account and then visit under the copyright service plan. I would show you, but I do not have the copyright service plan available on this account. But after you scroll down just a little bit, it's going to have a little go to account button, and that's what you'll want to click to go there. So I hope that helps. And again, if you are curious about this copyright protection service before the price goes up soon, just feel free to reach out to support@zenfolio.com. Or you can manage your own add-ons by going to settings and then account. And there should be a whole section here, the little visit button here. And you can sign up if you're interested. All right. Oh, and Cheryl did send out information about GDPR and the Copyright Protection Service. So that's awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. All right. So I think this will probably be the last one. This user says, that does not make sense. How would I add text or a message to galleries? Example, I did an event and users are logged in to see their images with a code. I'd like to place a message there with directions asking them to add one of their favorites as a print selection. So if you're wanting to add some messaging in your galleries, groups, events, whatever, this can be done. You would want to do it in the photos section of your account. And once we're there, we would just go into that actual area that we want to add that to. So that person mentioned an event, so let's open that up. And then you would just go to details on the right, and you can add a caption there, and it will show up on that event landing page, which is really cool. So I might say like, please add your favorite image to the favorites by clicking the heart icon. Just something that simple, and saving it. And now when I go to the preview of the event, I don't have anything plugged in, but I think it should still be there very hard to see, unfortunately, but you kind of get the idea. You could always change the color of this text and what shows up in the background too, but that's the gist of it. All right. I think I can probably take one more. Let's do it. This person says, just wondering, is it possible to set up free digital downloads to some events? Yes, it is possible. So if you want to give away your images for free, you can set your images to allow download of original images, and that is controlled in the access section. If you just want to do this on some galleries and not others, you'll just want to make sure you're in the actual gallery itself instead of like the big group at the beginning. So for example, if I wanted to allow downloading of this one but not this one, I would go into this one to actually change that access control setting. And again, it's on the downloading tab. You could just set it to allow so that customers may do that if they want. Alright guys, we are pretty much out of time here, so it was really nice chatting with you all today. If you do have any follow-up questions, definitely let us know. You can reach out to us at support@zenfolio.com, and you can always leave a comment on the video too. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your week and a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.